potential pairings, you'd have Ryan Murray and Damon Severson on the first pair, Vatanen and Subban on the second pair, and then Butcher and Smith on the third pair. And the extras would be Connor Carrick and Dmitry Kulikov. If Vatanen plays on the right side, where he's, most notably, that's usually where he's used to playing his whole career, you'd have Murray and Severson as the top pair, Butcher and Subban as the second pair, and then Smith and Vatanen as the third pair. Now, if I'm reading those over, I think the pairs with Vatanen playing on the right side is more appealing to
100%. Those are actually my ideal pairs right there. So
I agree with those. It's all like, I was just talking to Matt Junio earlier on Facebook Messenger, and I was telling him about like players on defensive pairs and angles. It's a lot easier for a left-handed shooter on defense to pass to the right-handed defenseman, especially when it's on the offensive zone, and you need to get the pass right, and it makes it much easier to receive and pass or even shoot the puck at certain angles when you're in those scoring drives, and it makes life a lot easier. It's not just because I think lefty versus lefty with lefty would work, but I just don't think it's doable if you have to backhand a pass all the time.
I mean, I would say that when you look at the situation, I think first of all, I think the Devils want to have Ty Smith be in the top six. I don't think there's any question about that. I think they want him to be in one of the three pairings. I think Vatanen understands that, it being a one-year deal, that he's going to have a lot to prove as to valuable for the Devils long term. And I think that the Devils, they enjoyed having Vatanen. And look, let's be fair. I think it's safe to say that Vatanen immediately becomes one of our top three defensemen by immediately coming back to the Devils, because you look at the production. I think Vatanen is worth being on the top four. I don't know about the first pairing. I think being paired with, Butcher wouldn't be that bad of an idea. I think him being on the top, probably the top power play unit would be good. It's going to be interesting. The guy that is the most when is he actually going to get playing time is Dmitry Kulikov, because now that Vatanen is back, that just gives him even less time on the ice. And it's
seventh
just kind
defenseman.
of he basically becomes a guy that's going to play like maybe 15 games, if we're going to be honest. I mean, I feel bad for the guy because, he signed a 1-year deal, and it's kind of like, what was exactly his expectations, when he signed here, and what did the Devils tell him? But look, the Devils, not only do they want to rebuild, they also would like to be competitive, and they'd like to win some games. And Vatanen is going to help them do that. And they brings in another veteran presence, who's on the early side of 30s, 29 years old. And he has some familiarity with the majority of the Devils' main guys because he's been here for a couple of years. And I think that the Devils are going to be happy to have him. I think at the moment he's still in Finland, so he'll have to come over in quarantine. So I would imagine that he'll probably have to miss a game or two before he actually gets on the ice. I don't know what his situation is, but
his
situation is he's stuck in Finland right now.
Exactly.
He's stuck in, but at least he has a contract.
Right.
It's not like it's not a Brett situation where we're just kind of waiting for a contract. But I think Lindy Ruff is going to be really excited to use a guy like Vatanen, especially when he brings his defenseman up in the rush. And I think when you look at the defense as a whole, I think we have to realize that our defense, especially offensively, is going to be a lot like what you see in Dallas. It's going to be that let's bring the defense up into the offensive zone. Let's try to make them try to defend all five guys in the offensive zone. And I think that guys like Vatanen, Subban, even Ryan Murray, to an extent, I think are going to benefit from that. I really do. And Ty Smith as well, playing on a low line. I don't know if you guys would be, if you guys were thinking about this, but has anybody thought about the possibility of pairing Butcher and Ty Smith together?
I wouldn't go lefty with lefty. I would break that up. I don't like I said earlier, it's the angles when one guy is left-handed and you have another guy on the other natural angle. It's all about like, can he backhand the pass properly, on a saucer? But really, I don't believe lefty pairings would work properly that way.
I mean, I'm more of
just a suggestion.
I'm just more of a tradition, like growing up playing the game, have the lefty righty combination. Like I guess I'm from the Babcock school of hockey, but I just like having that offset pair. But it's an option. But I know Smith is more of a left side guy, so it'd be tough. Now again, the real question is who's going to play with Subban, and that was my question last year. But it never really seemed to find it, because if you want to let PK go, you need to have somebody that can just stay at home and play with him.
Yeah.
I think Kulikov could be the guy.
I think right now it looks like Ryan Murray's been playing with Subban through most of camp and through the scrimmages. So if they're playing again together tomorrow, I would kind of bet money on Ryan Murray and Subban starting out as the top pair, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I could see Ty Smith playing like on a pair with Severson, because from what I've seen, like I haven't watched like the full scrimmage and stuff like that. Like sometimes it's hard for me sometimes to watch like those things.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch like an actual game so I can kind of get a better read on a player. But I don't think pairing Smith with Severson is that bad of an idea, because going off of what Amanda Stein has said is Smith and Severson are like together. They look phenomenal. And she's saying that Ty Smith and Jack Hughes are really clicking with their chemistry on the power play. And I don't know if Neil tweeted it or not, that it's gonna.
Oh yeah, I did tweet that out. I had retweeted Amanda Stein's video of Jack Hughes practicing with Mark Recchi after practice, and also Ty Smith was out there, and then also Amanda said that those two had really been clicking since the start of camp, and I said, you're talking about two guys that are going to be the focal point of your team for the next 5, 6, 7 years, and if those guys have that good chemistry even now, it's going to be a problem not only in the present, but it's going to become more and more of a problem for other teams in the future. I wanted to go back to the Corey Crawford situation for just a moment. Apparently, this is the rumor that I'm hearing, and I think you guys probably already know this rumor. I don't think it has nothing to do with retirement, or it could down the road. I'm not sure, but apparently, what we're hearing, and this is not an official source. This is not this isn't anything that's breaking news. It sounds to me that Corey Crawford is dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety from the fact that the Blackhawks let him go, and that this is the first time in his career he's playing somewhere other than Chicago. Right. And that's the reason why he's dealing with it. And again, none of that is confirmed. I'm not telling you guys, and anybody who's listening, I'm not saying to you guys, this is confirmation. I know this 100%. It's not. What I'm saying is that
I know Jake brought that up at like the beginning. He was like one of his options that if I heard him correctly, like that was one of the things he was running down, right, Jake?
So yeah, I mean, correct. Look, it's and I like that the Devils, guys like Palms and Zajac are very supportive of this. It is sad in a way, like if that ends up being true, it's really sad because mental health is such an important thing nowadays. I think a lot of us tend to struggle with it every now and then. There's no question about it. And look, it's obviously a difficult situation when you played over a decade for one team and one city and you've known it your entire life, to then all of a sudden you're going to a new team. It's kind of like, oh wow, this is a completely different thing. I'm just hoping that it all works out, and if it works out be him having to retire or something like that, I'm not going to be one of those fans that's going to be angry about it. And you can't. And I would say to Devils fans, if that ends up being the case, don't blame anybody for this. This is nobody's fault.
It happens.
It's a personal issue.
The mind works in a mysterious way, and we all know it. We probably all suffer from it. And it's crazy. And during this time, you know, in the pandemic, it makes people, you know, your brain just starts not to function certain ways, and you feel even more depressed, and so you just want to hope for the best for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want at the end of the day. And if he feels like it would be better for him to sit this out and everything, that's fine with me, as long, you know, because that's what matters. And if you want to, like, if people want to say, like, all right, who do we blame here? The only person or people that you could blame for this situation is the Chicago Blackhawks for making the decision. But again, it was a business decision. And look, the Blackhawks players, the main guys, Kane, Taves, Duncan Keith, all of them said outright that they were not happy that the Blackhawks did that. That they didn't talk to anybody about it. They just went out and did it. And
they also had personnel, decisions that basically said it's time to gut this and that, and we're going in the opposite direction.
Right, and I think that Crawford just wasn't expecting it, especially when we have to remember he played very well in the bubble for Chicago. I know that they weren't there long. He played very well, and I think that if he had it his way, he would have retired as a Blackhawk, and I think that that's a fair thing. But you know, if this is what he's dealing with, I'm very sympathetic with it. I understand that type of feeling, and I just hope that it gets resolved one way or the other. And I'm not saying that in a selfish way. I'm saying it in more of a way of, you know, if it means that he has to retire or that he would want, you know, to not play right now, that's okay. It's tough because also the opt-out date, if he wanted to have that option, happened already. So he's kind of he's kind of screwed in a way. But I know that the Devils will just try to go with the next man up mentality, like we were talking about before with Wedgwood or Sen or Cormier or a combination of all of those guys with Blackwood. But, you know, hopefully maybe things will change tomorrow. Who knows?
Yeah.
Tomorrow might be completely different. We don't know.
So moving on.
To talk about Dawson Mercer.
So, yeah, I saw Puckpedia tweeted earlier. I should probably pull it up because I don't want to like paraphrase it. But they're CHL players, because the CHL is basically not going on right now. Even though the Q started, they've had problems with COVID. So until they restart, players will be allowed to play in the AHL and NHL if possible, just for this season as like sort of an exception. So that means Dawson Mercer would be eligible to play for the Devils in Binghamton, which this year they'll be the Newark Devils as well. I think,
which I got something to say on about that because a buddy of mine works for the team. But after the Mercer,
we'll get into that because I'd be interested to hear. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what the Devils' plan is with Mercer, but you got to think that if they can get him in some AHL games, that'd probably be pretty good for him, especially since he's eligible to play in the AHL normally starting next season, or I should say the 2021-22 season. So I think what we saw from him at the WJC was pretty impressive. He wasn't playing high up the lineup because Canada was so stacked, but I mean, he was impressive in one-on-one battles. He was back checking. He was making things happen in limited minutes. In Binghamton, I guess we'll still refer to them as the Binghamton Devils because that's what they are. But I mean, they're going to be a pretty good team this year, and it'd be nice if they could slot Mercer in there. I think that'd be pretty sweet. So, what do you guys think?
I think
Dawson
we should
Mercer
call them
playing
the
in the
Newark
AHL this year?
Devils.
We could go with that. I mean, it's a temporary thing. So, what do you guys think of Mercer playing for Binghamton this year?
Newark Devils.
Go ahead.
Newark, fine. We'll call them the Newark Devils.
Joe,
What do you think Mercer playing for the Newark Devils?
You know, it doesn't. You know, as long as he's getting some game action in after the World Juniors, it's never a bad.
Yeah, I agree there.
The fact that there's no CHL hockey and he can start playing against pros now, it might help his transition to the NHL, make it better for him. You know, we always talk about that year. Like we talked about it last year with Jack Hughes. We knew he wasn't big enough to step up to the plate against men. He had a decent season as a rookie. but you obviously see the size that he put on and everything, and he's working on his game, which is good to see. You get a kid like Mercer come in, start playing against men, he's going to see